All right, so today we're really gonna, dive deep into something kind of different.
Oh, yeah.
It's a poem, actually, but
Interesting.
yeah, not like, those old sonnets or anything like that.
Right, right.
It's called The Weight of Silence, and it's powerful stuff. It really uses these pointed questions to, like, make you confront some hard truths.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's not exactly light reading, haha.
Hmm. I see.
But that's what we're here for, right?
Yeah.
To really dig into these thought-provoking pieces.
Absolutely. I'm ready to dive in. What do you say we start with those opening lines?
Yeah, great idea.
Yeah.
Those first two lines really set the stage, don't they?
For sure.
Whose voices do we hear? Whose do we ignore? Like, bam!
Us.
Right away, it's calling us out.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, like it's shining a light on that whole, selective empathy thing. We all do it, whether we admit it or not.
Oh, absolutely. We think we're so aware, but this poem is like a mirror relenting back some uncomfortable truths.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's not just saying, hey, we all have biases. It's going deeper than that.
Yeah.
Like it's asking, are we actively choosing to ignore certain kinds of suffering?
It makes me think of that experiment they did where people were so focused on counting basketball passes that they completely missed a guy in a gorilla suit walking right through the scene.
Oh, yeah, classic example,
Yeah.
right? Like our brains can just filter out so much if we're not paying attention.
Exactly. And this poem is kind of like that gorilla suit. It's shaking us up, saying, hey, look closer. There's a whole world of pain you might be missing.
And the way it uses imagery is so powerful, too. A hand reaching out, a voice breaking down. It's not abstract.
Yeah.
It's visceral.
Right. Those images put you right there in that moment of suffering.
And then it hits you with that line. Do we stand in the light or do we fade into gray?
Hmm.
Like, are we actively trying to help or are we just letting ourselves blend into the background and become part of the problem?
It's calling out that passive complicity we can sometimes fall into, that feeling of, well, what can I do about it anyway?
Exactly.
Mm.
But the poem isn't letting us off the hook that easily. It keeps pushing with those hard-hitting questions. Whose suffering do we notice? Whose fear do we deny? Whose truth do we stand for? Whose hope do we let die?
Each question builds on the last. It's like it's peeling back layers of our own awareness or maybe unawareness.
Right, and it makes you realize that this isn't some, philosophical debate.
Yeah,
It's about real people, real lives at stake.
absolutely. It's a call to action disguised as poetry.
Totally. And I love how it talks about this veil we gently wear.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful metaphor for all the things that can prevent us from really seeing and understanding the struggles of others.
It could be our own biases, our comfort zones, or even past traumas that make it hard to fully engage with the pain of others.
Right? It's like acknowledging that it's not always easy to break free from those barriers,
Yeah,
but at the same time, it's not giving us an excuse to stay silent.
definitely. The tone gets way more urgent as the poem goes on, almost demanding a response.
Yeah, like, do we step forward? Or do we turn away? Do we break the silence or choose not to sway? There's no more sitting on the fence at this point.
It's making it clear that we have a choice to make, and that choice matters.
And that constant repetition of whose throughout the poem,
Mhm.
it's like it's driving home the point that this is personal.
Right. It's not just whose voice in some abstract sense. It's whose voice are you choosing to hear? Whose suffering are you choosing to acknowledge?
It's holding each of us accountable for our own choices and actions.
And then just when you think you've got a handle on the poem's message, it throws you a curveball with that ending.
Oh yeah, that ending was wild. I was not expecting that.
Me neither. It asks, am I finally feeling empathy or was this written by AI? Like, whoa, talk about a mind-blowing twist.
Right, suddenly you're questioning everything you thought you knew about empathy and where it comes from.
Exactly. Like, can AI really feel empathy? Or is it just mimicking what it's learned from humans?
It's a question that has huge implications for how we think about technology and its role in our lives.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it also makes you wonder if maybe we've been too quick to assume that empathy is this uniquely human trait.
Maybe there are other forms of empathy out there that we haven't even begun to understand.
This poem is really pushing the boundaries of how we think about these things.
So I guess after diving into this poem, we're left with more questions than answers, which I think is the whole point.
Yeah, it's not about giving us a neat and tidy solution. It's about sparking a conversation, a process of self-reflection.
It's a call to be more aware, more mindful of the voices we're amplifying and the ones we might be silencing.
It's a reminder that empathy is a muscle that needs to be exercised. It's not something we just have or don't have.
So I guess the question we're left with is, if the weight of silence were the mirror reflecting back on ourselves, what would it reveal?
That's a powerful image to end on. What would we see in that reflection? Would we be proud of what we see? Or would we be challenged to do better?
I think that's something we all need to consider long after this deep dive is over.
I agree. It's a conversation that needs to continue.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the weight of silence. It's been, well, it's been a journey.
It really has. It's amazing how a poem can pack such a punch.
You know, I'm still thinking about that ending.
Yeah.
I might have to go back and reread the whole thing again.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's one of those pieces that stays with you long after you finish reading it.
Well, until next time, keep those ears open and those minds engaged. There's a whole world of voices out there waiting to be heard.
And whose voices we choose to listen to will shape the world we create.
That's a great thought to leave us with.
Thanks.
All right, everyone, take care, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.
See ya!